Okay, now I told her to.
Do you think Lauren is an autistic savant or just brain rotted? Like, is she actually only smart about math and memorizing things, or is she generally smart but something broke her brain, so she sees everything in a retarded way? I think that it's important to understand. People never buy this, but it really is like one of the most important things that you can understand when you're navigating the world is, oh, somebody emailed me an analogy that was really good for this. What was it? It had to do with like, one thing was like horsepower, and the other was it was some other aspect. Don't say torque. It was something to do with like the way that an engine works. But basically, some people, it's very easy in life to be pushed into incredibly bad thought processes. But you can still have like very high horsepower in your brain. So you're very smart. You can think through a ton of shit. So there are a lot of people that like aren't stupid. Like Ben Shapiro is not. You can't call him stupid. Jordan Peterson, at least pre-Benzo, you can't say that he's stupid. But the thought process has been perverted or destroyed in some way. I think that like Sneako is probably a good example of that, where he's, from my conversation with Sneako, seems like a pretty intelligent person, but like he started to get a little audience captured on YouTube. He did the horrible rape joke, got banned on YouTube. That pushed him in one direction. He started to make friends with people in that sphere. That pushed him in another direction. He started to make get idols in that sphere. That point, right? You end up like you end up getting kind of shoehorned or pigeonholed down this route where even though you have like high horsepower, you're really good. The epistemic errors that you're committing are committing you to like a bad train of thought. Sneako genuinely does not feel that way to me. With Lav, Sneako is definitely above average intelligence. Not as smart as Lav, though. Lav is, or at least for verbal IQ or whatever, Lav is much smarter than Sneako. But yeah, Mr. Girl is a really good example of that, too. He's a very smart guy, but you can see how the bad, like the things that he's doing are just like moving in really stupid directions. Feels watered down to call him smart if the thought process up though, unless there's good intelligent. Oh yeah, but the reason why this guy emailed me, I'm trying to be so careful because I don't want to sound insulting. I don't know if it's true. From what I've seen of like Ethan, I don't know if Ethan is like a super intelligent person, but it feels like he's got good epistemic practice. Like he asks the right questions and he's skeptical when he should be. So that's why you can take somebody who, as much as I don't like to say, I don't know what I feel like I've probably made contrary comments. Hassan is probably a fair bit smarter than average. I don't think Hassan is stupid, but Hassan has a really bad thought process. So it's funny to see somebody like Hassan, who I would say is bad thought process, more intelligent, versus Ethan, who maybe is not as intelligent, but much better thought process, where Ethan can do a thing where he asks a question like, oh, like, what do you think about Taiwan? And Hassan is smart, and he grabs a bunch of words, and he Markov chains together all these ideas, but at the end of the day, you look like, bro, this is some incoherent, like, rambling, crazy shit. What the f are you talking about? Yeah, that is an interesting way to look at things, I guess, yeah. Every streamer ever has been smart according to Destiny. I don't know why you guys say that. There are some people where I definitely say like this person is not like above out. Like I've never said like Merc is like a super intelligent person. But you have to also understand too, and I'll say this repeatedly, I don't think you guys know what like a normal human being is like. Like you guys will spend time in these spaces where people are making specialized accounts to go into chat rooms watching online streamers, and you think that these are like average 100 IQ people. Like it's not. Like by being on the internet, you're already probably selecting for, that's probably already, my guess would be, half a standard deviation off of the normal IQ. You're already at like 105 plus, probably, just by being on the internet, right? Then you're in spaces that are predominantly occupied people that care about politics, that care about like technology. That's probably like another half to full standard deviation off of. Like by the time you get to these political communities, you've already selected for people that are probably skewing way higher than the norm, right? You're not like, and again, like just go out and talk to normal people. Yeah, just talk to normal people and you can, like the average person, bro, the average person like doesn't know like what do we celebrate for Independence Day, right? Like the average person doesn't know. Like it wouldn't surprise me if less than 50% of Americans knew the answer to that. It wouldn't surprise me if less than 50% of Americans knew the 3 branches of government. I can probably find polling data on this. Percentage of Americans know all branches
Normal
of
IQ is Bo Black's.
Government. No, Bo Black's is subnormal, okay? How come you never point out some smart things that Lav says? Can you give an example of the types of conversations where she shines or surprises you? Her ability to gaslight and argue with multiple people when they don't have all the facts. Maybe if you wanted to be, actually, if somebody wanted to make a Reddit post saying Destiny's wrong when he calls people smart, if you wanted to criticize me, you could say that I put too much stock in people's ability to navigate highly dynamic conversations. Because for me personally, that's where I'm seeing a lot of a person's intelligence. And I might weight that too heavily, but I weigh that very heavily. Can you go into a conversation, so you're verbal, so it's on the fly, it's real time, it's dynamic, you're not prepared for it, you don't know what's going on, and can you excel in those environments? And like I said, as much as you might hate her, Lav demolished 4 or 5 people at a time. She'll just go through because they don't know all the facts, and she's like, gaslight, like it's like gaslight attack, like deny this, like turn this on him, like attack him with that, boom, 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 boom. And like effortlessly she can do this. She's, when I see stuff like that, I'm like, this person is very intelligent. Even when she's wrong, she can do that in conversations. So Destiny when there was some panel that I watched. It was around the time, I think it might have been after things were blowing up, or it might have been before, I don't remember, but I've seen her on panels with 4 or 5 people where she's clearly done something wrong. She's clearly up, and yeah, she's just not getting caught by anybody because she's, yeah, this is the most unscientific viewing of someone's intelligence. I don't know, I would consider it a pretty high. If I had to guess, I'm making super guessing, I could be wrong. If I had to guess, I would say that dynamic conversations are probably highly G-loaded activities. That would be my guess. If you have a person that speaks well in conversation and can do things like make jokes, insult people, be witty and clever about it, my guess would be that those people probably skew a lot higher intellect. My guess would be that that's a very G-loaded activity. That'd be my guess. You know, I might totally disagree. I'm saying that now, but I can probably imagine a bunch of like people at the debate conference, the rationalist conference, that probably couldn't do that. Or could they? I'm not sure. Actually, most of the people there were actually decent-ish speakers. Well, just because one thing is G-loaded doesn't mean well, if you're good at one G-loaded thing, you probably would be good at all G-loaded things, huh? I'm not sure. Here's the thing. Like, if I think of like comedians, I imagine that all comedians are fairly smart. Like George Carlin was probably a pretty smart person. Dave Chappelle, probably pretty smart. Chris Rock, probably pretty smart. Like, that would be my guess. Use a different word than smart, at least. No, because like people use smart as like you like got a good grade in school. I don't, like or like memorized a piece of information. I think I'll fight for my definition of smart. I think that smart has to do with like dynamically navigating situations, integrating information on the fly, like doing new stuff like that. And I think another reason why I feel this so much is like there are so many people who I like YouTube. I remember a lot when we had the YouTube essayist debates where these people could put together like decent videos, and then when you talk to them in a real life conversation, they crumble. You like 1 or 2 questions and they're completely done. And I'm like, what? Hello? Like, are you not able to think, or have you not done any research? You're not, yeah, I don't know. Chat seething because Destiny would never call them smart for doing comp sci, but calls Lab smart. I think that good programmers, probably skew, like being a good developer is probably something that skews highly with IQ or intelligence, because I think fundamentally, I feel like fundamentally good programming is really just at its like most basic, it's just an exercise in problem solving, right? Like given different sets of tools, can you pick the one that most efficiently accomplishes a job for the least amount of work with the least amount of like maintenance for the least price or whatever? Like, and it's just a matter of like, because like technically in the programming world, like most things are trivial and that you can do most things. Like most people could do most things, but it's not a question of like, is it possible? It's a question of like, what's the best tool for the job? What's the most cost efficient tool for the job? What scales well, right? It's like at the end of the day, it's all problem solving. I think this is gonna be somebody who knows nothing about programming, but that's what it feels like to me based on my Factorio designing. Yeah. Yeah, like the programming part isn't like the hard part about programming. That's why when you have people, for instance, that have like really good minds for programming, like if they know a couple of languages, my understanding is that if you know a few languages, like 2 or 3, you can basically pick up a new language and kind of like work in it and be relatively proficient, if not on like day 1, like pretty quickly, just because you like know like the architecture of how some languages work. I'm sure some are easier, like object-oriented or bullshit versus others. But some, like you're probably not gonna pick up like Cobalt or some or whatever bullshit. But like for the most part, as long as you know how to problem solve and you know like the structure and composition of everything, you can kind of like move from one thing to the next without being like, oh yeah, I'm fluent in 50 different languages. Like I don't think anybody's fluent in 50 different languages. They just learn a few really well and then they can work on other things. By the way, everything I'm saying is, I don't know, really all about programming. So this is just my thing that I've gathered from reading too many programmer memes. Do you think learning through memes could work? Unironically, yes. I think you can learn about things through humor, because when you find out what's funny, whatever the joke is getting at is probably hinting at some, like jokes are funny because there's an element of truth to it, right? So like if you if you indulge yourself, or I'm sorry, if you immerse yourself in some sort of like comedic community for a while, you can probably pick up some true things. I'm not saying that you can like go to programmer memes and be in, you know, get a job in software development in a year or two, but like you can probably learn like some basics, right? Because people say, people will make jokes about the same types of things, right?